Hi, this is Michael Hicks. It's June 2nd, Sunday night, and I just had the urge to give you my top 5 thoughts on the 13 newly released hymns from the forthcoming Latter-day Saint hymn book. I'm surrounded here by piles of hymn books from my collection because I'm really into hymn books through the years. If you don't know some of my works over the years, 35 years ago I did this book, Mormonism and Music, a History, and then a second edition with new stuff in it, Mormon Tabernacle Choir, a biography, Spencer Kimball's record collection, essays on Mormon music, and so on. I've had a career of 35 years teaching at BYU, and most of my interests and accomplishments are in other areas than Latter-day Saint hymnody, but I do have some credit in this field, and I have a bunch of hymn books to have fueled my imagination and judgment. So I just, I'm kind of hip shooting here. I know that some of my opinions will not sit well with a few of you, and you can write whatever comments you want. I may or may not engage in them, but I don't really want to fight with you about anything. I want you to carry on, and let me do the same. But I think I have some good thoughts, and I boiled it down to my top 5. Let me start by just saying, as a prologue, that these hymns that were released, 13 of them, I don't know why that number is an interesting number, but it's like baker's dozen, I guess. And it's a nice sampler. It's the old Forrest Gump, like a box of chocolates. There's a little, you don't know what you're going to find there. But we've got, out of 13, we've got 3 Christmas songs and a couple of overtly children's songs. We have 2, I think, sacrament songs, some old favorites, one returning after, 40-ish years out of the hymnal, that's Come Thou Fount. Of course, many people excited about that. Some kind of youth-oriented things like Gethsemane is sort of in a mid-range. I would call it a teen song, a little bit more than a children's song. And some venerable songs borrowed from other traditions, from As Well With My Soul, which I grew up singing in the Baptist church and other churches as a young man. And of course, His Eye Is on the Sparrow. More about that in a minute. It's a sampler, and the proportions aren't what we're going to see in the final book. It is a combination of children and adult. And let me start there. This is my number 5 comment, okay? I'm doing a kind of a top 5, work my way to number 1. Number 5, I think it's a great idea to unify children's songs and adult songs in the same book, because children should be given merit, value, and an honored position in sacrament meetings. We have some children's songs in the 1985 hymnal, as you know, and they're often sung by adults, not generally by children only, of course. And this is my one concern. Whenever you bring children's songs into an adult hymn book, you blur the lines. And I think that there are lines between adult music and children's music. There used to be at BYU bookstore an area marked with a sign, children's music, and on the opposite side of it, it actually had a sign that said adult music. And I thought, this is a great dividing point. And I think that in our hymnody, we're going to have to negotiate this very well. I think that adults should learn some children's songs, and there are some masterworks, no doubt about it, including some of the new ones, I suspect. But all of the children need to learn the adult songs, because they're all coming after us, okay? I'm thinking of Emerson, who said, my son is coming here to do without me. What a great thought. It's scary, but they're all coming here to replace you and me. And they need to learn this part of our tradition, get into the adult songs. So I think there should be some songs that are specifically devoted in sacrament meetings to learning children's songs or honoring children with repertoire that's familiar to them. And choristers will have to be careful and I think about this hard and even say, we want to now do a children's song in this meeting. Or maybe not, I don't know, because choristers do rule the roost when it comes to the songs that are actually sung in our meetings. Now, the number 4 of my top 5 is, I know many people are very interested in having a broader international representation within the hymn book, including the people working the hymn book committees. And it's one of the ideals of the leadership all the way up to the first presidency with this hymnal. Now, I don't know how many hymns we're going to have from West Africa or from East Asia or from South America, hymns that originate from there. But I just want to point out that there are many nations within our own nation that we need to reach out and start to bring into our Mormon nation, if I can call it that. The hymn I mentioned before, His Eye is on the Sparrow, is a great African-American church hymn. I mean, that's where you hear it the most. And it's been sung and recorded beautifully by many soul artists, black artists, Marvin Gaye, Aretha Franklin, Gladys Knight. So it has some things in it that pertain to the African-American community. For example, the chorus itself. I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. This is so beautiful, and I'm so glad that Latter-day Saints are already beginning to get to sing this song through the sampler release of it. But whether it'll be in the final collection, we don't know that yet. But I think that song in particular is bringing in another nation within our own nation, and it's a beautiful thing. Now this this brings me though to my third point, and that is in adopting these hymns from other nations within our nation to our LDS hymnody, we can lose the essence of the original. It happened with How Great Thou Art. I grew up initially in the Baptist church, later Pentecostal type churches, Assemblies of God, and so on. Even the New Sweet Home Church of God in Christ in East Palo Alto, California, where I played the piano for about a year as one of the maybe 5 white guys in the congregation. And with How Great Thou Art, I knew this would happen. How Great Thou Art, a signature song of not only old-timey congregations, but even of Elvis himself. Elvis Presley would sing it in his concerts. And he knew how to sing it right, because How Great Thou Art's chorus is, then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. It's very free and flexible, and it's meant to be full of heart. Now, I just worry about, for example, His Eye is on the Sparrow, that we'll end up singing, I sing because I'm happy, I sing because I'm free, His eye is on the sparrow. And by the way, I love those syncopations. That's a new thing in our hymn book. That's dee-dum, dee-dee-dum, those sorts of things. But the essence of that song is much freer than that. It's, I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. Anyway, and so let me say in connection with this point of mine, this thought, we got to do something about this kind of leading of music in this church. There's something so mechanical and robotic about this. I know it's fun to do, and I know that choristers love to have us do it, but some of these songs, at least, maybe more than you think, need to be sung, or conducted, I should say, with more of this. I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. His eyes on, and so on. Now, this actually takes me to point number 2, and that is that we're experiencing with this new hymn book a great, I think, revival of community in the church. We've needed great congregational singing that brings people together, singing with one voice, to use that scriptural term. And it's actually it's emphasizing community, I guess, not only in the making of it, but I think when we start to sing some of these songs, if we can sing them like that with a real strong sense of heart, people will be brought together and people will get emotional in ways that they probably haven't in many cases in a long time with the hymns, sing because I'm happy, or however they conduct it, I'd say this sort of stuff. I love it. I know how to do it. But there's got to be some opening up of how we lead singing in this church, at least in some congregations. And it does happen some places. But the blessing of this new hymnal is that it's being done, we have this in the scriptures about commons. All things must be done by common consent. But we get a lot of top-down, dictation to us. This is what the brethren are saying, etc. No problem with that, but common consent in this case is involving, well, it's not a bottom up because it was an assignment from the top down, but there's something about middle out here, middle out, that is really exciting, and I can see it in the way people are responding to these newly released hymns. They're putting them out right now. They're singing them in congregations. They're copying the music, passing them out, and so on, and saying, we're now getting to do this stuff. And it's fun because I think that you have to have, for a great church experience, new things. We have this in primary. It's good. Sometimes the new things aren't that great, but often they are. And Joseph Smith, I think, said, it's always been my province to find new things for the delight of my hearers. I think that's how he put it, for the delight of my hearers. That's what I think this is giving us now. People are excited about these new hymns being added. I just note that some hymns are going to have to be cut. Some favorites are going to have to be cut that you may not want cut along the way. And there will be some modifications too. But there's something about freshness and newness that enlivens the church experience. And, we talk about the church as, this grand force of faith in the world. We talk about it as a society in which we're engaged. But I believe that for most of us, maybe all of us, the most immediate and powerful experience of church is going to church and how it feels when you're there. And when it feels good when you're there, that's it. You want to come back. Now, number 1, my last of my top 5 here is, I hope that whatever you think about going to church, being in the church, whether you like the new hymns, the concept of a hymn book, whatever, that you will really thank the Lord and in your mind thank the people that are doing this work, because you have no idea the Herculean task this is to make a new hymn book and unmake the old one in people's imagination and experience and so on. It's when this was first announced in June of 2008, right? One of my colleagues at BYU was retiring, and he said, so how long do you think this is going to take? A year or two to do? And I said, it will be 5 to 10 years but in any case, longer than the people who are beginning it now can imagine. Well, it won't be before 8.5 years, according to the announcements that have been made. So I was pretty much on. But he was incredulous. How could it be? And I started telling him, these are the things that have to happen. It is so much work. There's so many decisions to be made, so many levels of approval and authorization up the line, and so much of this sort of interacting, trying to come to consensus, because you are determining a new standard work for the church for, who knows, generation, 2 generations, anyway. So please honor in your hearts and in your prayers and with your words, if you know people who are involved in this process, those who are doing the work. And these are powerful, titanic figures in our experience, and they're going to be anonymous pretty much. But they will give us so much that I don't know that we've earned. But in any case, thank God for them. So, thanks for listening. I hope this has been useful to you. There's my top 5 thoughts, and if you disagree with any of them, be my guest. But I love you all, and thanks for taking part with me. Night.